A story for all ages. In the long ago time, there was one who was lonely and restless and deep and wide and powerful. His name was Ocean. One day he looked into the distance and he saw her, this beautiful woman. She was powerful and noble and regal, and her name was Mountain. He wanted to meet her, but he needed help, and he said, "Brother Sun, my brother Sun, come warm my waters." And brother Sun did, and so mists and clouds rose. And then he said, brother Winds, come carry me off towards Mountain." And brother Wind came and did that. Well, Mountain was a bit afraid when she saw Ocean, these dark clouds and mists coming towards her, but he spoke to her the way gentle rain speaks. He wrapped her in mists. Wildflowers grew there. Streams began to trickle down her. He visited often. In winter, he brought blankets of snow. She was never more beautiful. She was never happier. In time, Ocean and Mountain had a daughter. They called her River. And one day, as a young woman, she said, "I will travel from the realm of my mother, Mountain, to the realm of my father, Ocean. I will bring those worlds together." She was an artist. She was a dancer. She was a sculptor, a singer. And on her long, long journey, she sculpted canyons and wide valleys. She carved deep pools. Where she leapt, she made waterfalls. Where she sang, there was white water. She was generous. She carried rich silt out and over the banks of her waters. And so the cattail reed and the duckweed grew there, the willow and the wapato. And in those places, duck and goose and merganser, great blue heron, eagle and osprey, red-winged blackbird, kingfisher, and many, many more came. Of course, there was beaver and muskrat now too, and river otter. Her waters teemed with fish like sturgeon and salmon and eel and trout. Everywhere that River went, she was generous. Everywhere, inside her, about her, there was abundance. At last she reached her father's realm, the ocean, and now the gifts between Ocean and Mountain flowed. The salmon nations they came, Chinook, Sockeye, Coho, and all the rest, from Ocean to Mountain, back and forth again, carrying the mysteries of the heights of Mountain to the depth of Ocean, carrying the richness of Ocean up into the heights of Mountain. For the salmon, they never forgot their way home. In time, people came, two-legged people came, and they would ask River, they would say, "Please, these reeds along your shore, these willows, they are good for shelter. May we use them?" "Yes," she would say. "Take what you need." "River," they said, "these fish in your waters, they nourish us. May we use them?" "Yes," she said. "Live beside me in a good way. Take your part in this web of life." And they did. She carried their boats. She watered their fields. And they knew that they only lived because of the gifts that River gave. And because of that, they gave her gifts. Gifts of song and ceremony and thanksgiving. They listened to her voice. They loved the many, many songs of River. Thousands of years passed in that way. But then more people came. These people didn't hear the voice of River. They didn't hear her song. Perhaps their own voices spoke too loudly. They didn't ask for what they needed. They took whatever they wanted. In time, they would just say, "River, you are powerful. Turn this grist mill, grind our grain. River, you are strong. Turn this mill, cut our lumber. River, power our lights, run our factories, carry away our waste, carry our ships and our boats." And she did. River was always generous. But in time, the people choked her flowing waters. In time, River was filled with refuse and waste. In time, she was ill. She called one day to Grandmother Great Blue Heron, her oldest friend, and she said, "Grandmother, the people who live beside me have forgotten the ways of living. They take without asking. They give nothing in return. My spirit is so weak, Grandmother. Something must be done." The next day, Grandmother Great Blue Heron, though she was very old, she went to the river and she lifted her great wings and was carried like a kite into the sky. And though she was lost many, many, many times in the dark clouds and the storms, at last she found her way to the lodge of Rainmaker, who lives at the edge of the world. He had great respect for Grandmother Great Blue Heron. He brought her in and he said, "Grandmother, you have journeyed long. You have journeyed far. Why have you come?" And she said, "River is ill. Her spirit is so weak. The people who live beside her now have hearts that are so hard, heads that are so large and stubborn. They take without asking. They give nothing back. Something must be done, Rainmaker." The next day, Rainmaker, he took his thunder drum and flew off. He gathered all of the cloud people together, the lightning people, the thunder people together, and they counseled. And they decided that they would make a rain of remembering. They gathered over the place where that river flowed, and for days the dark clouds piled up. Thunder rumbled and the lightning flashed, and finally the skies opened up. But that was a gentle rain. It was a sweet rain. It brought the people out. They looked up into the skies. And day upon day, as the water fell, it seemed to wash the dust of forgetting from their eyes, the illusions from their mind, and the hardness from their hearts. And in time, when the rain stopped, they looked out and saw a river as if for the first time. And they realized what they had done. And then a second rain began to fall. It was the rain of tears that came out of their eyes, a rain of grief. Their hearts broke open. They say that in time those people returned to their houses, to their farms, to their schools, to their factories. But when they returned, they saw the world differently, saw river differently. And because of that, they began to live differently. Well, that's at least what the story says. It's only a story. But as a wise person, Barry Lopez, the writer, once said, sometimes a story can help us to reimagine our own lives. And that is the story of River, and thank you so much for listening to it.